So students, after the resistance, conductivity, resistivity, our next topic is to classify the materials on the basis of their resistivity. As we know that resistivity of any conductor or any material is the property with which it opposes the flow of current through it. So we can classify the materials in different categories like the conductors, the insulators, the semiconductors. And you are aware of all these kinds of materials. So as the name suggests, conductors, they conduct the current very well. So it means their resistivity should be very low. So the resistivity range for the conductor is of the order of 10 raised to power minus 8 ohm meter to 10 raised to power minus 6 ohm meter. And as the power suggests, the resistivity is very low. It means that they conduct electric current or electricity very well. And what are insulators? As the name suggests, they are bad conductor or they do not conduct. So their resistivity range should be very high. So their resistivity range started from 10 raised to power minus 10 raised to power plus 4 ohm meter. And for some good insulator materials like the glass, the mica, the rubber, the range is in between 10 raised to power 14 ohm meter to 10 raised to power 16 ohm meter. Now you can see that this unit is, or this value is very high. 10 raised to power 14 order is very high value. Now for the semiconductor, the range is in between this insulator and the conductor. And the range for semiconductor is 10 raised to power minus 6 ohm meter to 10 raised to power 6 ohm meter. This range is in between this conducting material and insulating material range. What are the various kinds of the resistor we are using nowadays for the commercial purpose? One is the wire bound resistor and another one is a carbon resistor. So we are using these carbon bound resistors in abundance for our electrical or semiconductor devices. Now, how to find out that what is the value of a given resistor or what kind of particular resistor is required for a given circuit? So in order to identify the values of given resistors, there are some schemes in order to get the exact value, and these are known as the color coding scheme. So for carbon resistors, we are having color code system which indicate the value of resistance for that particular resistor along with their percentage of accuracy. Now what is the percentage of accuracy? This shows that particular value or particular amount of current is flowing through that particular electric circuit. Now we are having a resistor with some color. Some letters are assigned for those colors and some numbers are also assigned for those colors as well, and multipliers, and a fourth strip is there, that is for the color gold, silver, and these color represents the tolerance for a given particular resistor or the percentage accuracy, how much accurate value that is providing. Now in this table you can see that we are having 10 different colors: black, brown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, gray, white, and we are assigning the number from 0 to 9 to these color in this particular serial order. And we are having multiplier, that is 10 raised to power 0, 10 raised to power 1, 10 raised to power 2, 3 and so on till 10 raised to power 9, and the color which represents the color coding. Now how to remember this color coding scheme? There is a very good method. There is a phrase, that is BBROY. BBROY. Roy of Great Britain. Okay, G for Great, B for Britain, had a very good wife. So B.B. Roy of Great Britain had a very good wife. In this manner, you can easily remember and you can easily find out the exact value of a given resistor. Now, again, B.B. Roy of Great Britain had very good wife. Okay, now there are three B's in this. B, B, B. And we are having three different colors for this B. Black, blue, brown. So you can see that first one is black, next one is blue, and first one is black, next one is brown, and the last one is blue. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now there are two systems for color coding of resistors. The first system is this kind of color coding, in which we are having 4 different strips of colors. And another one is we are having a resistor, ends are having some color, the body is having some color, there is a dot and there is a ring. So in this case only single ring is there, but in this case there are 4 rings of different colors. Now let us consider this first system. In this system, the first significant figure is represented by this first ring. The second significant figure is represented by the second ring, and the decimal multiplier is represented by the color of this third ring. And the fourth ring will be either gold, either silver, or no color. So that represents the tolerance of given resistor. In this case, we are having again, one is the body of this resistor, another one is the dot having some color. So the body of the color represents the first significant figure here, and the color of these two ends represents the second significant figure, and the color of this dot represents the multiplier, that is the decimal multiplier, 10 raised to power 0, 1, 2, 3, or so on. And the ring represents the tolerance value, that is the percentage accuracy of a given resistor. Now let us consider a case for this. We are having an example that the body of this resistor is yellow, end is violet color, and the dot is of orange color, and the ring is of silver color. As we know that yellow color is assigned with the number of 4, violet with number 7, orange with number 3, and silver is having the tolerance of plus minus 10%. So the value for this given resistor will be 4 first significant figure, 7 second significant figure, multiplier is 3, so 10 raised to power 3, it is 47 into 10 raised to power 3 ohm, that is the value, and the tolerance is plus minus 10%, and it can be written as 47 kilo ohm plus minus 10%. So this is the way to represent this kind of resistors. And for the next kind of resistor, let us have an example that a current of 2 ampere is passed through a color coded carbon resistor with first, second and third rings of yellow, green and orange respectively. What is the voltage drop across the resistor? Here the first one is what? Yellow, the number is 4. Second one is green, the number is 5. And the third one is orange and the number is 3. Now this third one represents the decimal multiplier. So what we are having the value for that resistance? 45, that is 45 into 10 raised to power 3 ohm. Now there is no fourth ring given over here. So what will be the tolerance in terms of that? The tolerance will be plus minus 20. Now we are having the value for given resistor. We need to find out the potential. Current is given here. So current is in milliampere. Convert that is in ampere. 2 milliampere is equals to 2 into 10 raised to power minus 3 ampere. Substituting all the values in Ohm's law, that is V equals to IR, we are getting 45 into 10 raised to power 3, this is the value for resistance. 2 into 10 raised to power minus 3, this is the value for current. And we are getting the potential is 90 volt. Okay. Let us take another numerical problem in which we are having calculate the resistivity of a material of a wire 10 meter long. Here length is given 10 meter. 0.4 millimeter is the diameter. So diameter of that wire is 0.4 millimeter. Using this diameter we can easily find out the area of that wire and having a resistance of 2 ohm. So these are the factors given here. We know the formula for resistance is R is equals to rho L upon A, and from that formula the resistivity is rho is equals to R A by L. Substituting the values, now the diameter was 0.4 millimeter, so radius is 0.2 millimeter, that is 0.2 into 10 raised to power minus 3 millimeter. Substituting all the values, what we are getting, that the resistivity for the given resistor is 2.513 into 10 raised to power minus 8 ohm meter. So in this manner you can easily solve the numericals based on the color coding scheme as well as the resistivity, resistance and so many factors. After this, our next topic is carrier of current. So we are having so many kinds of materials around us, like the solids, the fluids, vacuum tubes and all. So what are the basic carrier of the current? As we know that in solid substance, free electrons are the carrier for the current. So we can say that electrons in metallic conductor are the carrier of current. They carry the current. Means the flow of electron gives us the current. Electron as well as hole in semiconductor. So this is the case of solid. Our solid can be a metallic conductor or a semiconductor. In case of metallic, electrons. In case of semiconductor, electrons and holes, that is vacancy of electrons. In liquid we are having the charged ions, either the positive or negative, like the case of electrolytes. In gases we are again having the positive and negative ions and electrons as well. Now positive negative ions for given electron and electrons. Why electrons? Because our air is a mixture of so many gases, and in previous chapter we studied about the static charges, and these are nothing but the electrons. In vacuum tube, the free electrons again, like the cathode ray tube we are having. So we are using these to get the flow of charge carriers, and when we are heating these vacuum tubes, the free electrons start flowing from one terminal to the other terminal of a given vacuum tube. Now these are the charge carriers. Now how they constitute to the flow of current, how they are making the current to flow through a given circuit or a conductor. For that we need to apply some potential, we need to give some potential to that particular circuit. Now what happens after providing the potential to a given circuit? These electrons, these ions, they gain some energy, with that energy, they start flowing from one position to another. Now, after gaining energy, they are moved with some increased or different velocity. And that is our next topic, students, that is the drift velocity. This is the velocity which acquired by the electrons or ions when the given circuit is connected to some battery, cell, or any external source. Now, what is this relaxation time? Let us consider a case that we are having a conductor which is not connected to any cell or battery. In that case, we are having n number of electrons or charge carriers in that particular conductor. Let u1, u2, u3, u4 and un are their velocities for one electron, for two, and so on till n number of electrons. Now, what will be the average velocity of all these electrons when no external source is connected to the conductor? In that case, the average velocity will be 0. Why that is 0? Because the electrons are having the velocities, but they are moving randomly in all the direction in zigzag motion. So the net resultant comes out to be 0. They collide with each other, again move, they collide, and in this manner this process goes on. So there is no net flow of charge in any direction. So current will not flow through that particular conductor. But when some potential is connected to that particular conductor with the help of cell or battery, in that case an electric field is set up. In that electric field provides a force on these electrons to make these electrons to move along the direction of electric field. So F is equals to minus E into E. E is the charge, E is the electric field strength. Now, why this minus is here? Because this electric field acts along direction opposite to the force. So we are applying force opposite to the direction of this electric field. Okay, so the direction of electric field is from positive to negative, and electrons are moving from negative to positive. That's why F is equals to minus E into E. Now we know that according to Newton's second law, force is equals to what? Mass into acceleration. From here, acceleration will be force upon mass. So what is force? Force is minus E, that is charge into field strength, divided by mass. Now final velocity of the charge carrier will be what? Applying first equation of motion, in this case u1 was the initial random velocity and tau 1 is the relaxation time, that is the time between two successive collisions. So when the particle or electron was moving with velocity u1, it is being accelerated with an acceleration of a, and this is the time for which the charged particle acquire this acceleration just before the next collision. So what happens? The final velocity acquired by the electron during this time with acceleration a will be v1 is equals to u1 plus a tau 1, and this is nothing but our first equation of motion. Similarly, the final velocity before next collision for the second charge will be v2 is equals to u2 plus a tau 2, and similarly we will be having the final velocity for n number of charges. Now these are the initial velocities, these are the final velocities, and we are assuming that for a given electric field strength, all the charged particles having the same masses will accelerate with same acceleration, but their relaxation times are different. So now let us find out the average velocity for this final velocity. So let us say that the final average velocity is Vd for all number of electron, and that will be V1 plus V2 plus Vn divided by n. Now let us substitute the value of V1. V1 is U1 plus A tau 1. V2 is U2 plus A tau 2, and so on. Rearranging the terms, and what we are getting? We know that the average of initial velocities when no battery or cell is connected to the conductor, that was 0. But here we are having the resultant of this as A into tau, where tau is what? Relaxation time. That is tau 1 plus tau 2 plus tau 3 till tau n. Now what is this relaxation time? So here we are in state to define the relaxation time. This is the average time that elapsed between two successive collisions of an electron. So this is of the order of 10 raised to power minus 14 second for most of the conductor. So this is very small amount of time. 10 raised to power minus 14 seconds. That is 1 upon 10 raised to power 14 second. So within this, so you can see that how fast the electrons are being colliding in a given conductor. So from here what we are obtaining, that Vd, that is the average velocity, is equals to A into tau. And let us substitute the value of that acceleration. It was E into E upon m, substituting the value, and we are getting the value for this final resultant average velocity as E tau upon m. And this Vd is known as the drift velocity of electron. That is the velocity gained by the electron when it is being connected to a given battery or cell. So average velocity is, this is the velocity gained by the free electron of a conductor in the opposite direction of external applied electric field. Now you can see in this figure, we are having position A and this is the final position B. Now in the absence of electric field, the electron is going in this manner, like in this manner. Randomly it is going. When the electric field is applied, what is happening here? The electron is being speed up here from A and in this manner, like this. So electron is being drift. It was its earlier position in the absence of electric field, and here it is the final position in the presence of electric field. So what we are obtaining, that the electrons are moving fastly, they are being drifted with the presence of this electric field. Now what is the cause of the resistance for a given conductor? What is the cause of resistance? The flow of the charged particles and their successive collision with each other is basically the cause of resistance through a given conductor. So let us deduce a relation between the electric current and the drift velocity of a given conductor. We are having a conductor of length L and a battery is connected to that conductor in order to provide the steady current of flow of current through that conductor. So these are the direction of electric currents. A is the area of this conductor and these are free electron. So this is the direction of electron will be the direction of electronic current, and Cc, that is the direction of conventional current through that particular circuit, that is from positive to negative. We know that according to Ohm's law, that E is equals to V upon I. Now for applied potential E, when we are applying a field E, in that case the free electron always drift opposite to the direction of this field E. Here E is the direction here and the electrons are moving away opposite to that. So an average drift velocity is being set up for these electrons, and that is opposite to the direction of electric field. Now An electron density is n here, small n, that is the number of electrons per unit volume for a given conductor. So total capital N number of electrons will be flowing through this conductor, and that is n capital N upon V, that is AL, and we'll use that term further. Charge on in each electron will be what? E. So what will be the total number of electrons flowing through this length L? That will be N, that is the charge density, and the volume of that conductor. Charge density is N and volume of the conductor is A into L, that is area into the length of the conductor. So the total charge contained in a given length will be Q, and that is E N A L, where E is the charge on a given charge particle. Also we know that velocity is what? Distance upon time. From here what we conclude, that time is distance upon velocity, and let us substitute. The distance through which the charged particles are moving is length L of the conductor. Vd is the drift velocity. From here the time comes out to be L upon Vd. Therefore the current will be, we know that current is charge per unit time. Let us substitute the value of charge. Charge is from here and the time is from here. After substituting, we are getting a result, that is the current is equals to current charge density into the charge area of the conductor into drift velocity. So this is the formula for current, that is current flowing through a given conductor is NEAVD. Current density we know that is current per unit area. So current density will be this current divided by area, and this is ENVD. We can write it as in vector form also, that current density in a vector form is equals to charge into the charge density into the vector density, and vector density this drift velocity is also again a vector quantity. So both this equation and this equation or relations are valid for both the positive and negative charges. Okay, now after this let us find out the Ohm's law using this relation. What is Ohm's law? Ohm's law say that V equals to IR. Now we are having a conductor and V is the potential difference across the terminals of that conductor. Now L is the length of this given conductor and Vd is the drift velocity acquired by the electron after this conductor is being connected to the battery or cell. We know that current is NEAVD, and let us substitute the value of this Vd from here to here. From here what we are concluding, this is current and this is the potential. We can write it as V upon I, that is nothing but our resistance. So let us rearranging the terms, and we are getting V upon I is equals to M into L upon N E square tau A. And for a constant temperature, all these terms remains constant. So what we can say that V upon I is a constant, and let us replace all these terms with a single constant, that is V upon I is equals to a constant, that is R, which proves Ohm's law. Hence R is equals to M into L upon NE square tau A, and this is nothing but the resistance of a given conductor. Now as we are having resistance, we can define the resistivity. Resistance is this, so substituting the value of resistance over here, we are getting the value for resistivity, and that is resistivity is M NE square tau, and from here the resistivity is proportional to what? The charge density of a given conductor, and resistivity depends upon the relaxation time of a given charged particles. Now if the relaxation time is more, in that case the resistivity is less, and if the relaxation time is less, it means the resistivity is more. So what we are concluding here, if the charges are less, in that case the resistivity is more, means less charge density, more resistivity. And less relaxation time means if the number of successive collision between the particles are more, in that case the resistivity for a given conductor increases. Okay, so after finding the relation for the resistivity, our next topic is the relation between the current density, conductivity, and the electric field for a given conductor. Now we know that for an electron, charge on a given charged particle is minus E, that is for electron. Vd is the drift velocity, and the formula for drift velocity is minus E tau upon m. Also we know that the current density is NQVd. Let us substitute the values. Q is minus E, Vd is minus E tau upon m. After solving the terms, we are getting this relation. But we know that this factor is nothing but our conductivity, that is the reciprocal of resistivity. So let us substitute the value. What we are getting, the conductivity into the electric field strength is our current density, or from here the electric field is resistivity into current density, and this is nothing but our Ohm's law in vector form. And you can also say that this is the Ohm's law in microscopic level. Now what is the cause of resistance? We are studying the resistance, resistivity and all. So what is the cause of this resistivity? The basic cause of resistivity is the successive collisions between the charged particle. When the charged particle collide with each other in a given conductor, there is resistance to the flow of charged particle, and we know that flow of charged particle constitute to current. So with successive collision, the resistance of the flow of charged particle is increased, hence they reduce the flow of current through a given resistor. Now out of the metals, non-metals and alloys, we are having alloys very high resistivity, and nichrome wire is a very good example for that. So alloy have small relaxation time, and hence they are having large resistivity. It means in alloys there is successive collision, the collision rate between the charged particle is very high. Now what is the cause of the instantaneous current in a given circuit? The drift velocity of electron is of the order of 1 millimeter per second. So the drift velocity is very high whenever a given conductor is connected to a battery or any external source. The electrons acquire very high velocity, that is they travel a distance of 1 millimeter per second, and this is the cause of the instantaneous current for a fraction of second or a given instant.